and when we've got a lot of our students studying overseas, in Australia in particular, we want to be able to create more opportunity for New Zealanders here and home grow our talent. And that's the biggest thing that we have to do to fix our healthcare system, is to make sure we generate more workforce. We've been making good progress, but there's a lot more to do, and to think from 2028 there'll be 120 graduates coming through this place is pretty special. With that, happy to take your questions.
Prime Minister, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good. What do you think about the Air New Zealand flight attendant striking a week out from Christmas?
Well, actually, I haven't thought about that. I'm here actually today focusing on what we've got to do, which is actually building out and enhancing our healthcare system. So, but that's a decision for the company and obviously the union to work through.
The Rural Health Network says there are about 130 full-time equivalent rural GPs missing at the moment. It's going to be a couple of years before we actually see these new graduates in. So what are you guys doing in the short term to try and address those shortages?
Yeah, I'll let Simeon talk to that as Minister of Health, because we've been doing a lot in that space.
Look, as I said in my remarks, we are fixing the basics and building the future, which is actually getting the workforce now. That's the 100 overseas trained doctors who are in New Zealand but can't work as general practitioners. We're funding them to actually start work now in primary care, so that's underway right now. We're also opening a new pathway next year for graduate doctors to be able to start their careers in primary care as well. So there'll be 50 doctors entering that pathway next year. So we're taking short-term actions as well as the long-term actions which are required to build the medical workforce for the future, which is what today's all about. 120 graduate entry doctors, graduate entry students starting in 2028. Each year from then on.
And the other work has been, we're 400 nurses, registered nurses, actually incentivised with incentives to GPs to take on nurses in rural New Zealand at $20,000 per nurse, and obviously expanding the places for nurses to go on and do nurse prescribing, but also nurse practitioning.
That's right.
And that actually will be a very important part of our primary care model going forward, because essentially they can do a large proportion of what a GP can do through as a nurse practitioner. So we've put a lot more nurses in, we've put a lot more doctors in from where we were 2 years ago when we came to government, but a lot more work to do. And exactly as Simeon says, you've got to fix the stuff in the short term, but you've also got to keep an eye on the longer term and build for the future as well.
How will you ensure that these new graduates will stay working in the region, put roots down, and not be lured overseas?
Yeah, happy to speak to that. I mean, this is very much part of the model, being a graduate entry model. The university will be taking people who have already graduated, maybe working in another part of medicine, maybe as pharmacists, working in their local communities. They'll come here to Hamilton for 1 year. They'll then go back into their community to start their clinical placements. And that's a really important feature of this different way of actually training doctors. Rather than taking them to Auckland or Otago for multiple years, making sure they're able to train in place so they stay in place is a crucial part of how this new program has been modelled. And I think that's going to really change the way we do it. And also, looking at different ranges, if it's graduate entry, it's going to be potentially older students. They may already have homes and families. So having a different mix of students, I think, is really going to play a big role in terms of actually making sure we can keep them here in New Zealand.
And some of what's been observed in, say, Australia and the US with a very similar system has been that when people are out, in their placements in the communities, they actually build relationships, they form attachments to the community, and they end up staying, and that's a good thing. So I think having a completely different approach to it is our best shot at actually making sure we get more people out into rural New Zealand.
President Trump has said that AUKUS should move full steam ahead. President Trump has said that AUKUS should move full steam ahead. What does that mean for New Zealand and entering Pillar 2?
Well, look, there's been no real progress over the term of our government, as you know. We've said, like the previous government, we're open to exploring more involvement in AUKUS Pillar 2, but again, there have been changes of leadership across the AUKUS countries. There's been an ongoing conversation about submarines between the US and Australia. All of that needs to get sorted. So, we'll continue to explore, but at this point there has been very little progress.
Is there interest in focusing on Māori and getting Māori into the school, into the medical school?
Yeah, I think that is a really big opportunity. We know we have a lot of work to do in Māori healthcare in particular. We've made some very good progress. We're very proud of the investment we made, for example, partnering with iwi health organisations to tackle immunisation rates for under twos, and the work of those iwi health organisations has been phenomenal, not just in lifting immunisation rates for Māori but also for non-Māori across the whole of the community. So I think there's a real opportunity for us to continue to deploy out our doctors into communities that often have high Māori members in the community, and that's a good thing.
During the nurses' strike a few months ago, a lot of the nurses who just left medical school said that it was quite hard for them to find jobs here in Aotearoa. What do you make of that?
I'll let Simeon talk to that because it's recent.
Well, you may have seen the announcement last week by Health New Zealand. They will be hiring will be hiring 1,800 graduate nurses this financial year, which is a significant investment in our nursing workforce. And that's critically important to make sure that those graduate nurses can start their careers here in New Zealand. And so that's a big step forward for those nurses. We've also funded, as the Prime Minister said earlier, for 400 graduate nurses to be able to start their careers in primary care with incentive payments to GP clinics and primary care providers to be able to employ those graduates in primary care. So in total that's around 2,200 places, which is about the same number of graduates who are graduating this year. So we're really focused on making sure our nursing workforce is able to start their career here in New Zealand. We need them, they play a crucial role in our healthcare system, and we're really focused on making that work.
Why do you believe this school will contribute to better health outcomes for Māori?
Well, I think this is a really different model in terms of how we're focused on taking young people and graduates from a whole range of regional and rural communities where there'll be high Māori populations, and they will be able to have that opportunity to then become doctors here in a graduate entry medical school. And so, this is going to be obviously open to all New Zealanders, but the way that the admission criteria will be developed is really going to be focused on how do we find those doctors, find those students who are already in those communities, bring them here to Hamilton for a year, and then have them then do their clinical placements back in their community. So stay in place, work in place is a really, really important part of the model which is being developed.
Prime Minister, you visited Hawke's Bay this week and heard concerns from farmers regarding farm to forestry sales and the fire dangers they pose to communities. Are you looking at any regulation there?
Look, we'll have a look at it. I mean, what we've done is, as you know, passed law to say, farm to forest conversions on land use category 1 to 5 isn't going to be happening. Land use category 6, we're going to have an auction for 15,000 hectares. And 7 and 8, we've said we're comfortable with that. But again, I'm proud of that progress because what we were seeing was, under the guise of we want to plant 1 billion trees, ended up actually transforming and really hurting rural communities, and we've stopped that practice, which is a good thing.
The region is tinder dry, and farmers are pretty concerned about that, saying it's a disaster waiting to happen. Is there anything you guys are looking at?
Well, again, as I said, we'll have a look at it. The immediate thing has been to get on top of actually the farm to forestry conversions, which actually have been changing the nature of our rural communities, and that's something that we've felt very strongly about as a national party, and we've actually, in government, gone ahead and actually actioned that and passed that law and backdated it back to December 2024. So, that's the first part of it. We'll have a look at the other issues as part of the FENS, resourcing as to what's needed and whether there's anything needed legislatively as well.
Last one, guys. The health committee that the review of MAPAS has been completed. Is that going to be released, and what's the process from here?
Well, my understanding is that it's been, the officials have done some work on it. I haven't yet received any official advice ultimately. I'm waiting for that and then decisions will be made.
Okay, team.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry. Is your thought to bonding them, given that historically NZ graduates leave the country?
Well, we're very focused on making the difference in terms of what we're doing here is to find them roles in primary care because we know that for many of them that's what they want to do and that's a real important priority for us. So that's what we're doing, getting them trained, getting them working in primary care so they can deliver more care for New Zealanders as quickly as possible.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.